Man, that game was awesome. What a great story. I wish there was some sort of show that explored game stories a bit more. It could be presented by an Englishman with a deep voice from a chair such as this, and it could have super fancy titles, and it would just be great fun. Hello Absurdians and welcome to Mythos, the show where I go beyond the controller to look at the stories of our favourite games. Some good, some bad, and a hell of a lot in between. Now, such is the nature of this show that if you haven't played the games mentioned, there will be spoilers. So, before further ado... And now that that's out of the way, today I will be looking at Asura's Wrath. Asura's Wrath, funnily enough, focuses on the character Asura. Asura is one of 8 demigods called the Guardian Generals that protect the planet Gaia from monsters known as Goma. The game starts with an all-out war in space between the Goma and the Guardian Generals. You might have noticed that I said an all-out war in space. Well, I did. Jesus, just look at this! This game just got all Star Wars on us. Look, it's got the ships, it's got the lasers, and it's even got a space station as a huge laser weapon that could destroy the planet. See? Look at that thing. That's no moon, right? Okay? Seriously, total Buddhist Death Star right there. Anyway, after a long fight, the big super boss Goma Vlitra appears from the center of the planet itself. And holy shit, just look at that thing. It's like a giant snake space planet penis. So when Vlitra appears, the Guardian Generals draw on power given by Asura's daughter, Mithra, who's a kind of priestess, I guess. There's a lot of spiritual and religious symbolism in this game, but I'll come back to that later. What you need to know now is that she can amplify the power of the normal human's prayers to give the demigods power. Asura absorbs this power and uses it to defeat Vlitra and send him back to the planet's core, where he will remain for thousands of years. All seems good and happy and full of rainbows until the Guardian General's Emperor is assassinated in a coup perpetrated by 7 of the Guardian Generals, and Asura is framed for the murder. Asura runs to see his wife Durga, but she's attacked and dies in his arms, and his daughter Mithra is kidnapped by the other demigods who seek to use her powers to further their cause. Asura confronts the Guardian Generals upon learning of their deception, but he is defeated by Deus, the Lord of the Guardian Generals, and he is cast down from the heavens practically dead. So we're into like serious Shakespearean betrayal shit here. On the brink of death, Asura awakens in a kind of limbo world where a mysterious golden spider helps him remember who he is and what happened to him. When he does regain his memory, he's filled with a powerful anger, and he swears vengeance on the Guardian Generals who've betrayed him and taken his daughter. He runs up the limbo pole. Well, not an actual limbo pole, but like the pole that's in this thing right here. He runs up this limbo pole thing to escape the afterlife, emerging back on the planet's surface 12,000 years later. Asura comes back to a world where the remaining Guardian Generals have established themselves as the 7 deities, and human legends now tell of Asura's great treachery and defeat at the hands of these new gods. And can I just say that some of the artwork in this game is phenomenal. I mean, look at this. This is pure, old school, like Buddhist Hindu temple artwork. It's wonderful. So the 7 deities are now insanely powerful, with fantastic new abilities that have only grown over the millennia that Asura's been stuck in limbo. It's up to Asura to now fight and defeat each of the 7 deities to sate his ever-growing wrath and save his still captive daughter. "But Richard," I hear you say in your fancy clothes and well-furnished smoking room, "this story doesn't sound very original at all. It's just a standard tale of revenge and betrayal that everyone has heard before in some form or another." Well, to that, good sir, I say... Alright, fine, it's not a very original story. Jeez, behind all the space techno wizardry and, symbolism and general craziness, no, it doesn't seem like a very original story. But, let's get through the whole thing before we start going into it a bit deeper, okay? During the past 12,000 years, the 7 deities have worked on trying to gather great reserves of power called mantra, which used to be gained through the prayers of humans, which was what Mithra used at the beginning of the game. But now the 7 deities are taking the Mithra directly from human souls. And this they do by actually killing people. And they say that they're doing this so that they can destroy all of the Goma that have resurfaced, as well as eventually defeating Vlitra once and for all when it reawakens, thus ending the cycle of destruction. And thanks to all of this extra mantra that they've acquired over the last 12,000 years, they've got some seriously souped up powers, which lead to some of my favourite balls-to-the-walls crazy boss fights I've ever seen. I mean, look at this! The dude's an angry freight train of destruction! And now he's the size of a planet. Oh, holy shit. Punch, Asura! Punch for your life! And then you run into some other people like, Jesus, did that guy just split the entire moon in half with his sword? What? And now he's stabbed through Asura and then through the entire planet as his sword extends in front of it. Okay, yeah, sure, fine, that happened. Yeah, alright. Now, since Asura doesn't have access to the mantra, the main resource he can draw on throughout the game is his rage, and he grows stronger the angrier he gets. He's kind of like a smaller, less green Hulk with killer tattoos. Even though Asura actually dies several times during the course of the game, his indomitable rage keeps him from succumbing to death's sweet embrace, and he only continues to get stronger. Now, I said that the 7 deities gather mantra by killing normal humans, and you actually see this during the game, often with Asura around the humans when this is happening. It's seen as kind of a divine ritual and a great honour to be chosen for this sacrifice, and it's really quite chilling to see a community just willingly submit to a series of quite gruesome killings and begging to be taken. However, Asura runs into a girl who doesn't believe that this is right, and refuses to just sacrifice herself to the will of dubious gods. This girl believes in Asura after seeing him fight some of the deity's forces that are killing her fellow villagers, and Asura appears to develop some kind of bond with this girl, although it's possibly because she looks surprisingly like his daughter Mithra. However, at one point Asura has followed this girl into a village to try and save the people there, but the deities have found out where he is, and they actually carpet bomb the entire village. And this kills all the villagers around him, including this girl. Seeing this girl's lifeless body and becoming further enraged by the deities' wanton destruction and their seemingly uncaring actions, Asura becomes so full of rage that he loses control and enters his wrath form, his skin scorched black by the fires of his rage and wielding immeasurable power. And you get to utterly decimate the attacking spaceships and force them to withdraw. It is one of the best ultimate power trips I have felt in a game. Now, the game actually does something very interesting here, although I didn't think it at the time. Asura's brother Yasha, who is another demigod and member of the 7 deities, has begun questioning the motives of his fellow deities and is generally trying to calm Asura down. He's trying to get him to join them possibly, or at least get out of their way. But he's been having his doubts. And when Asura enters his wrath form, the game switches so that you now control Yasha. At the time, I thought this was crazy. I wanted to control Wrathform Asura some more. The dude's insanely powerful. But thinking about it now, I realised that Asura becomes so powerful and so utterly consumed by his rage that he becomes uncontrollable even by you, the player. I mean, holy shit. When was the last time that a character in a game forcefully wrested control from you? That's crazy. So after you play a couple of levels as Yasha, he eventually finds and fights Asura and blasts him forcefully out of his wrath form, calming him down enough so that he, and in turn you the player, get control again. And so, Asura and Yasha jump on Yasha's super cool space bike, and I'm not even sure why Yasha has a space bike, because it was already previously established that he could fly, but who cares? Motherfucking space bikes! And they fly into space towards the Brahmastra space station, straight into the center. And so they fight and fly through the super amazing Buddhist Death Star and confront Lord Deus, the final boss of the Seven Deities, leader of the former Guardian Generals, in order to free Mithra. And after a frankly amazingly awesome boss fight, you do defeat Lord Deus, Mithra is freed, and everything seems to be good. But wait, holy shit, Vlitra's back, bitches! And he's bigger and badder than ever. I mean, holy shit, he's now like 10 weird snake planet penises, and he's got a massive planet face, and I'm pretty sure that would destroy the planet, but anyway. But now there's that to deal with, so Asura and Yasha once again fly into space to defeat Vlitra once and for all, in a super crazy boss fight that takes them right into the center of the planet. After hammering some buttons until your thumbs fall off, you defeat Vlitra, and once again, all is good. Asura and Yasha go back to Mithra and have a happy old reunion, gazing out at the planet below. But just when you think you're done, after exceedingly ridiculous boss fights, there's still more, and unfortunately it's here that Capcom decided to do something really, really lame. If you get enough S ranks in your playthrough, you get something called the true ending. It turns out that the golden spider that has been helping Asura is a true god, and he reveals himself by taking over Mithra's body, using her power to assume his godlike form. And as he squares up against you, Asura, once again full of wrath at this sudden but inevitable betrayal, the episode ends. What? What the hell? I thought I was getting the true ending. And you will, if you pay for the DLC. What the fuck? You don't do that, Capcom. You don't put one ending in the game, a very good, satisfying ending, and then you shove on the beginning of the supposed true ending on the damn disc, but leave the rest of it for buyable DLC, so you can find out the actual ending to the damn story. No, that's bullshit. I won't be doing that ending, because I think that's a shitty business practice. I really do. You can't skimp on proper story and pretend that the one you've put on the disc isn't the real one. Fuck you, Capcom. So things get pretty crazy towards the end of the story, and it's very easy to liken Asura's Wrath to Dragon Ball Z, and that's actually a fairly apt description. Because while the story is a fairly standard one of a character's betrayal and quest for redemption and revenge... Redemption? Revenge? Metal Gear Rising Red Vengeance? Sorry, while it is a fairly standard story, the game differentiates itself from similar games by presenting it like a TV show. Throughout the game, there are not chapters or levels, but episodes. Each episode contains a break where commercials would usually go, and the story's been written in such a way that it really works in an episodic format, complete with an intro cutscene and even next time on sections. I just wish it had that announcer from Dragon Ball Z who'd go next time on Asuras Wrath Z. While the story might sound balls to the walls crazy and, as our fancy friend said, pretty generic, when it's broken up into these episodic installments, it really works, just like any anime show you'd see on TV. It gives sensible breaks in the batshit insanity, and it gives the story better pacing and a greater sense of escalation without overwhelming the player. I can't help but think that if Asura's Wrath was released today, it could absolutely work in the episodic model we see from Telltale now in their flagship games. Now, you might remember that I said earlier that there's a lot of spiritual and religious symbolism in Asura's Wrath, and you might well have picked up on some of it looking at the footage that you've seen in the video. But these references go to a far deeper degree than I initially thought. Nearly everything to do with the demigods, their forces, and the technology we see draws heavily on Buddhist and Hindu mythology. When I was researching for this video, I wanted to do a more in-depth section on this, but I discovered that someone had actually beaten me to it. The link at the bottom of the screen, and I'll put it in the description as well, will take you to the article A Buddhist's Guide to Asura's Wrath, where the authors Richmond and Andy Lee point out just how much the creators of Asura's Wrath drew influence from Hinduism and Buddhism, from the names of the gods, to the weapons their troops use, to the technology that powers them, all tying it back into the original mythology. Like those things, even the things that Asura's being stabbed with, those are based on weapons used by real-life Buddhist monks. How badass is that? If you want a really in-depth look at these links and ties, I urge you to read that article and its subsequent parts. Those articles have already been shared on Kotaku and even Capcom's homepage, as they rightly should. They are super well researched, and the Lees know what they're talking about, and I can't really say anything more than they've said there. But all of this goes to show that the effort put into this game gives it a depth that goes beyond mere artistic and aesthetic choices. There's a theory that I have, and I'm not sure if it's been said elsewhere, I'm sure it probably has, but it goes a little something like this. If a bad story is told well, it can still be entertaining. And likewise, if a good story is told badly, it can just not be entertaining at all. We can all think of examples of movies, for example, where a really bad story is told in an entertaining way, and we end up liking it. For example, The Expendables. Really, really dumb, bad story, but I love that. It's great fun. Alternatively, we can think of really good stories that have been let down by the film that they're in. They have really good premises, but we end up coming out wanting more. They didn't live up to it. Trying to think of an example of that, possibly The Dark Knight Rises. A lot of people didn't like The Dark Knight Rises because it just wasn't told that well. Maybe there were plot holes, maybe there were problems with the script. Who knows? I personally like The Dark Knight Rises. I thought it was really fun. But even stories and jokes told by our friends can be let down by delivery or made more awesome by how they're told. We can all think of examples, and I think that Asura's Wrath is a good example of this. Now, I'm not saying that this is necessarily a bad story. The very fact that this kind of story appears in so many other forms of media is a testament to its popularity. I'm just saying that because of the artistic choices that were made during the making of this game, such as the influences from Hinduism and Buddhism and the anime TV show style, the story becomes more than the sum of its parts. It all makes the story shine, and ultimately makes the game an absolute delight to play. Asura's Wrath was great fun, and I'm really, really bummed I didn't pick it up sooner. I remember seeing the trailers when it came out, and it looked like everything that I loved from Dragon Ball Z, but wrapped up in some sort of wrathful makeup and cranked up to 11. And while that metaphor didn't work at all, the game does. The game works great, and I urge you to give it a try. It's not going to win any prizes for its gameplay, and if you're looking for a game with really deep, tight hack-and-slash controls, you are far better off looking elsewhere, let me tell you that. But if you're up for a bit of fun, a bit of mindless, yelling, vengeful fun, pick up Asura's Wrath. If you've played it before, pick it up again. I had a blast with this game. Motherfucking space bikes.